So the BBC were in town this week to film an episode of World Questions, which is a part of the World Service. It's broadcast around the world to some 90 million people. They came to Tirana, they had a panel of guests, and they let the audience put questions to politicians and members of civil society. I was involved in the organisation, I was involved in the event, and I decided to catch up with the presenters and also the audience and some of the panellists to find out how they thought it all went. That was quite a lively debate. I think it's fair to say the government did field a lot of criticism during it. You must have been expecting some of it. How do you think it went? What are you going to take away from tonight and people's comments?
Well, of course, being part of the governing party is always difficult, and we've had 3 terms in government. However, as a member of the Socialist Party and as a member of Parliament, I'm very proud of what the government has achieved for the past 3 terms. The 3rd term is coming to an end soon, and we're very hopeful that with the 4th term. And the reason for that is because although we have our weaknesses and we have our problems and issues, we have at the same time delivered for the country. There are many things we have delivered. I'll touch on 2 of them, which I consider to be the main developments for the past 10 to 12 years, and that is the judicial reform, which has really made the judiciary independent, like other democratic countries, and also the reform we've had in digitalization. 10, 15 years ago, all services, no services were done online. Today, 90% of the services are done online. Only last year, citizens of this country received 13 million services from Albania. Could it be improved? Will it be improved? Of course, that's a challenge for the next term for the Socialist Party in power.
Was there anything tonight, be it from another panel member, someone in the audience, anything you haven't heard before, anything that took you by surprise, anything that's going to stick in your mind?
No, not really, in the sense that I have heard the issues, I've heard the concerns, and I do hear what people are saying. Mainly, I'm referring to the audience, the questions that they asked. I'd have liked some more constructive criticism, because criticism is good, critique is good to be provided, but I'd have liked it to be more constructive in the sense that, yes, there are things that can be improved, and here is how they can be improved. The role of the opposition is not merely to oppose the government, but is also to provide solutions to the people of the country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I think it's fair to say both you and Mr. Qureshi fielded quite a lot of criticism there. The debate did get a bit lively. I'm sure you were expecting that. What's your overall opinion of the debate? And was there anything that really took you by surprise from the audience, from the questions?
Not really. I mean, what the audience contributed with was my expectation, and it's, I think, reflecting the overall state of mind and state of frustration of the public and the public opinion. But I'd like to say how happy I am to see BBC giving this opportunity, not just to us, but to the general public, because this society is devoid of substantive debate. This society is devoid of a meaningful debate. They were here, they organized a debate, they contribute to elevate the level of the debate, and I hope this is a good example for other media outlets in the country to follow.
And there were 2 women on the panel, one Fury, 19, the second youngest ever participant in the programme, as far as I understand. She said some very powerful things. You know, corruption stops with the generation before us. Our generation, we're not going to carry it on. How does it feel sitting and listening to someone so young say such powerful things and with such conviction?
No, I believe that one of the key things to do to get Albania out of the crisis in which it finds itself is empowering youth. I've done that. And I have seen the benefits of it politically, but more needs to be done. And the positive takeaway is that the youth is here and willing to contribute. And it's our task to fight for them to have the space, the opportunity, the tools to contribute.
And lastly, was there anything tonight, any topic you thought would come up that didn't? And is there anything you wanted to say and you didn't get the chance to?
Always. Many things.
Give me one.
No, I think generally this kind of panels, this kind of organization, in particular when conducted by professionals of the highest level, such as the BBC World Service, accommodate a harmonization of all issues. It's not an easy job, as you know, as a journalist. And I think they did a great job in that regard. But the problems are deep and many. And of course, the time is insufficient to probe them all. and it's insufficient to probe them in an interview. But I hope you can welcome me back
Yes,
at your studio one time.
of course, but we have to go viral again. You have to come up with a good line. But I did want to ask one other thing. Do you think people listening to this who don't know much about Albania and they've heard about Albania's reputation, good and bad, do you think it will change their perception in good ways, in bad ways, or just provide them more context? How do you think people will react to this?
I believe it's a healthy balance between Albania's potential, Albania's assets, and the challenges it encounters in its way of maturing up to become a functioning democracy with rule of law that meets the minimum standards to become a full member of the European Union. I believe that the melange, the mix out of this is a balanced one. Of course, much more can be said about Albania's assets, starting with youth and the people of Albania, about its natural potential, its natural beauties, as well as about the challenges. Some of them were discussed: corruption, organized crime, non-functioning democracy. But we could have talked much more about the problems that media freedom and journalists are facing. We could have talked much more about the lack of competition in every area of life, including the economy, and how that is hampering the efforts of young people and young families to build a life here in Albania, and is forcing a lot of them to leave the country. But I think all in all, within the short period of time that was at our disposal, with 4 members on the panel and the moderator and several members of the public, a job very well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Edlira, how was the experience today? What were you expecting and how were you feeling afterwards?
It was a great experience. I really want to thank BBC for choosing Albania for this program and for this time. It's an honor to be here, and it was a real honor also to debate not only with the panel but also with the people. It was very interesting to hear their opinions and to hear their thoughts, and to say very small things of what we think that is possible to do more in Albania, and to give the right messages not only to Albania but also to the world.
Was there anything, any comment, any question, any opinion from the audience that maybe took you by surprise or that has stuck with you and you will take it with you?
Some of them, yes. As I said, the last question was $1 million questions, but what can we do better in general? And sometimes you feel like you have so many answers, but the right answer is always invest in the right values and invest in the country and love the country. Yeah. And this was one of the questions that sometimes, you need to say a lot, but you have only 1 minute. And I think the discussion was very good. Of course, the problematics are there and the issues are there. And I think in every country, some we have the same and we share the same issues. In other things, we have local issues. The main idea is to debate them and to find an alternative on how to solve them all together. And I think the last message is that we need to be together because the eagle flies with the 2 wings, not only with one. So we only need to get together and to invest more for the country and to ask for more.
Edlira, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fiori, from what I understand, you were the second youngest panel member in the history of the show. Not that means you're in no way not capable or anything. You were fantastic. It was a pleasure to hear you. For you, what was the most memorable part of this panel? What are you going to take away from today?
For me, it was very important, I think, all the ideas that were given from the people of the audience and the comments made from them. And for me, it was very heartwarming seeing so many young people part of the audience, which makes me understand that these people really want to get heard. And these people really have a voice that they need to raise. So I would like to encourage all the young people to keep coming in events like this and keep raising their voice and their concerns, because they will be heard, like they were heard and answered today, not only by me in the point of view of a student and a young person living in Albania, but also from politicians that really have something in their hands to do.
Was there a topic you hoped would come up that didn't come up, or is there anything you wanted to say during the event but you didn't have the chance to?
Well, I think for me, I was hoping for the question of education to come up. What can we do to improve education and also create new opportunities for the youth? And if I can answer it now, I think that another good option would be not only focusing on universities and 9-year-old schools and high schools, but also creating more vocational schools. which is really important, I think, because I go back home in Tropoi and I see that they need to hire people from abroad, from Thailand and everywhere else.
You can't find a plumber.
Yes, you cannot. You have to stay in line to fix something. And so we need more skilled people. And I think that by creating these schools, not only in Tirana, but focusing on areas that are way further than Tirana, that have a completely different reality than Tirana, is really important for us.
And this is why I will vote for you as Prime Minister in the future. Thank you, Fiore.
Thank you so much.
So what were your overall thoughts on the event? Do you think it was quite a balanced debate? What were your thoughts on some of the answers coming out there? From the younger members of the panel as well, not just the politicians.
I think, first of all, it's good to have BBC in town. Second, it was a lively debate. I think most of the bases were covered. Of course, it is hard to cover everything in a country with big issues like Albania, but most of the bigger issues were covered in a lively and honest manner, especially from the civil society members of the panel. I don't know if I could say the same about the politicians, but we know how politics are.
Yes.
They always like twisting and turning. But overall, especially dodging, overall was a...
Was it better than you expected?
It actually was. I was a big skeptic when I came in, and I'm leaving feeling a little bit better about the fact that BBC was in town and BBC was fair.
Thank you very much. So you came all the way to Albania just for this event today, which is quite exciting. So what were your thoughts? Was it worth the trip?
Well, this event and the second half of the football match, hopefully, in a few
I
weeks'
won't
time.
keep you too long.
No, I won't ask you which is going to be better. It was, yeah. I think you saw the liveliness of Albanian democracy. It's come a long way in the 30 years that I've been following it and coming here. And I think all the right questions were asked. The impact of the diaspora, corruption, tourism. It was all pretty well covered, and I thought some fairly strong opinions were given.
Was there anything that you heard today that perhaps you weren't expecting or you hadn't heard before, anything that you're going to take away with you?
I think the fact that the diaspora are going to vote, you're going to have elections next year, and my background is Irish, and there's one reason the Irish have never had the whole of the diaspora voting, and that's because, in theory, the Irish diaspora could dominate the election. And here in Albania, there's more people living abroad than live here. So it's quite a daring proposition on behalf of the country that they are putting the hands of their future into people who don't live here, but many of whom have strong economic and familial contacts here. And that was a big one for me.
My last question, you said you've been following Albania for 30 years. Yes. It's not your first time here. Just if you can sum up in a sentence, how has it changed over the last 30 years?
Well, if you think back 30 years ago, it was the most repressed, enclosed country in the whole of the world pretty well. And I think it's remarkable, the development of the economy here. Just wandering around Tirana, the entrepreneurialism, you just wouldn't have seen it 30 years ago. And now Albania are beginning to win at football as well.
Let's hope so.
They're beginning to make sport is important.
Yeah.
It is. Sport is important. They won their first medals at the Olympics just a few weeks ago. And so I think looking back to London, I now know many, many successful British Albanians, and you wouldn't have seen that 20, 30 years ago. And I'm hoping that they will put something back into the country they came from.
I won't keep you anymore. Go watch the second half of the game.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
So if there was one thing from today's debate which really sticks in your mind, or you found most interesting or most surprising, what was it?
Well, to be honest, one thing that I would say is like the tackle of corruption, how it starts. Like it starts from us, you know? We are the ones that should like make the change. We cannot expect from the top to make the change when we in the bottom, we don't. Like Miss Adlira said, and Miss Fiore said too, like we should start, you know, it's the young generation that should teach, you know, the other generation on how to say no to corruption and how to keep going.
I agree. I think what she said was one of the more powerful things, you know, that this is the last generation, you know, we are the new generation and we're not going to tolerate it anymore. Anything else you'd like to add?
To be honest, I was also expecting more answers from the politicians that were there. And I'm also very happy to hear like all the feedback and what Miss Adlira and Miss Fiore had to say. It was very thoughtful and it would also give hope to us.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
So we covered a lot of ground in the discussion today, got a bit lively. What are the key takeaways for you? What do you remember most?
I think I heard everybody speak. I heard the opposition speak. I heard the guys that were in state speak. And I came to a conclusion that in a tangled state, the thief knows well to, manipulate and the opinion, manipulate the people with a lot of stuff that they say. But I think there's a lot of hope in the youth, and they must raise up and they must be educated to know what propaganda is and what the truth is, and show these politicians the skin of the wolf so they won't make any more mistakes with our decisions.
Yeah.
Because moral has two components, knowledge and the decision to choose. And once you have professional intellectual power to choose the good from the bad, and you do it for personal interest, you choose what's wrong, and that's where the faith of this nation goes down.
Who do you think was the strongest panelist today?
I'm
the best.
I supported the opposition more because it was very honest, and but all the other panelists were very nice, well articulated, and I enjoyed listening to their opinions. But I'm more towards the opposition because, as I said, this state is tangled, and the thief knows how to convince people, and strongly has convictions, to tell him, hey, this is right when it's wrong. And so I think that was my opinion.
It was an interesting debate for you.
Interesting.
Thank you very much. So what were your thoughts today of the event? Did you think it was an interesting discussion?
Yes, I think it was a very great opportunity that, BBC came to Albania and to have this discussion with politicians and activists. And I was, glad that in the audience as well, there were like foreigners from different countries, and, they shared their experience. So I'm Albanian living in the US. And so I contribute there, and I'm kind of also glad that other people are contributing in Albania. So I think this was like a great event. So I thank you and everyone
Thank you very much.
participating. Thank you so much.